Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I'm not here with Geeky Sparkles. I got a little bit of video game news. This is pretty interesting stuff. The composer of Final Fantasy, Uematsu, Nobuo Uematsu, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Close to it. As close as I'm going to get. Anyway, legendary composer of Final Fantasy music and other scores. He said that Square Enix rather, collapsed after Sakaguchi, the Gooch, left the company. So this is really interesting to have him come out and say this. And those two worked together, I believe, at Mistwalker Games after the, it might have been like right after the merger between Squaresoft and Square Enix. I want to talk about this because Square is not in a good place right now. They really aren't. They've had numerous high-profile failures and adventures in AAA gaming, Western-style AAA gaming. It's ended in tears for them. They keep losing money year after year, even though they keep going back to the Final Fantasy well. It's not working out for them that well. They go back to that well. It's not working out that well. Anyway, that's what I said. So we're gonna talk about this. I have a soft spot for Squaresoft. The Squaresoft of the 90s in particular, an amazing company. They used to put out several like gold standard RPGs every year, and they were good. Most of them, 99% of the games they put out were good. They were solid. They were dependable. There were multiple titles a year. They took chances. They would come up with new IP. Some things would, some of the games would work, some of them wouldn't work, but they tried new things. So it wasn't just Final Fantasy all the time or remakes of this, or remakes of that. In fact, remakes were rare back then. They would, occasionally re-release the Final Fantasy games in the 90s. Like I know in the PlayStation 1, they had, I think it was 4, 5, and 6 in a collection. They did that, and it was kind of an anomaly. It was like, oh my gosh, they're re-releasing old Final Fantasy games. Imagine that. If we only knew what the future held for Square Enix, where they're just going to go back to the same handful of games again and again and again. Like seriously, how many versions of Final Fantasy 1 have we gotten over the last like 5 to 10 years? I mean, it's just absolutely bonkers to think about. So we're going to talk about this. The company collapsed. And I've said this before, and this is a little bit of validation because I said Squaresoft is not Square Enix, right? It's not the same company. They got absorbed into Enix, and it's not the same company. It really isn't. And to have Uematsu come out and say that is kind of wild. So we're going to talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Hey, check this out on BackerKit. Orcs are a-holes. If you like RPGs, you want to wear some a-hole orc pins, maybe put on your vest or something, you can do that. Check it out. Orcs are a-holes. Go to badorcs.com. That's badorcs.com and help us out over there. This is funded. They're going to get made for sure. A small campaign. We're doing a couple of small campaigns while we finish up some other obligations, and then we're going to go full steam ahead on games and more comics. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a few months yet, though, but we're getting there. Anyway, let's take a look at Square, where they're at. This is from, let's see, Game Rant. Square Enix stock plummets after disappointing Q3 2024 earnings, and that's with Final Fantasy VII remake, reboot, redo, whatever. Whatever they're up to now. The second of the, I guess the 3 they're going to do each disc as a separate game. So by 2032, we should have all of Final Fantasy VII remade. But yeah, they didn't do very well last year. Let's see, what else do we have? This was early 2024. Square Enix announces major layoffs in North America and Europe. They did sell off several divisions too. They sold off Crystal Dynamics. They had at one point Tomb Raider, I believe. They sold that off. The Marvel game was a huge failure for them. So, they're not doing that great, right? And I think they got a raging case of Californication. I think that's a big reason why they are the way that they are right now. Just my personal opinion, but having flown in and out of LAX many, many times over the last decade, the Square offices are pretty close to the airport because we drive by them all the time. The Uber would go by all the time. So they're right in the thick of it. And the company has not been the same. It really hasn't been the same for years. I mean, this is not a company that would put out a game like Xenogears. This is not a company that would take a chance on things like Parasite Eve. Instead, they're going to do, what the hell was that game called? Forspoken. It had several high profile failures in the last couple of years. The Marvel game, of course. But yeah, they used to take a chance, and most of the chances actually worked out for them. So anyway, Uematsu says, to put simply, he was the big boss. That was the Gooch, Sakaguchi, the creator of Final Fantasy. Always has been, always will be. Maybe Sakaguchi isn't aware of this, but the situation at Square was awful after he quit. He left and the organization suddenly collapsed. I thought to myself, oh no, I should get away from here. And they did go on to work together again at Mistwalker. He says Sakaguchi has the natural qualities of a leader that drew people to him, but also commends Square Enix on getting back on their feet after the trouble they faced. Well, that's debatable. I don't think they're the same company. Now, they did publish Fantasia Neo Dimension. That is the Gooch. And also Uematsu does the music for that too. And it is about as close to them working on a proper Final Fantasy, I think, as we're going to get. But that was developed independently. I think it was with Mistwalker. And then they decided to publish it over at Square Enix. But yeah, it's not the same. It's not the same company. We got some comments here. All Xbox had to do was keep funding its studio Mistwalker for new titles, market their games like how they were marketing Halo and Gears. Yeah, they decided that Japan was dead to them. Huge mistake. Actually, Square Enix decided Japan was dead to them, and they chased Western games, and they fell flat on their face every time they did it. All of Square's trouble stemmed from them trying to do what they think Western audiences will like. That's why Final Fantasy Spirits Within bombed. Yeah, Spirits Within was the reason they had to merge with Enix. It was such a massive failure. It basically took the company down with it. And it's not because the movie's bad. I don't think the movie's bad. I actually went to the theater to see it. It didn't feel like Final Fantasy. And people can argue, yeah, it's very Final Fantasy. I'm like, yeah, but I guess what the normie consumer would think of Final Fantasy. And at the time, 7 was hugely popular. 8 was pretty popular. They could have gone back to the roots of the series and done something a little more fantasy oriented. And I think it would have been a bigger hit. Instead, it was like straight up sci-fi, and people didn't get it. They didn't get what they're going for. And it didn't connect to any of the games. So they spent all that money on this, for the time, amazingly animated movie, photorealistic CGI animation. It was impressive when it came out, but it was a massive failure. It only speaks out what everyone was thinking anyway when Squaresoft and Enix fused. That's why he's the greatest of all time. Getting back on their feet is a very generous way of putting it. Yeah, I don't think they're back on their feet at all. I would have said getting back on their feet and shuffling along like a hospital patient. We noticed. Sakaguchi deserves another chance of being Square Enix boss again if they give him a second chance. If they gave a second chance to people responsible for the bomb of a game that was Forspoken. I thought it was Forspoken, yeah. Forspoken, because that cost around $100 million to make as well. Sakaguchi really was the soul of the classic Final Fantasy games. Sakaguchi leaving Square is comparable to Miyamoto leaving Nintendo. Yeah, they were stupid to let him go and should have done everything to preserve him at all costs. He practically created the core of the company with one franchise, and without it, Square Enix wouldn't exist at all. That's true. Then he almost bankrupted them with Spirits Within. Yes, he did. I think they need to rein that one in. But yeah, like Final Fantasy hasn't felt like proper Final Fantasy since he left. The last game in the series that felt like, I believe, like an actual Final Fantasy game. I'm not talking about like, because 14 is good, 12 is good, but as far as a game that actually feels like a proper Final Fantasy game, that'd probably be 10. And I think that was the last one. I'm pretty sure it was the last one he worked on. And they don't feel the same. The Final Fantasy games don't feel the same. Irony is you posting this, and then he immediately posted Final Fantasy 14 screenshot. Square has been one of the worst companies in gaming in the last 25 years. I agree with that. I always hope Sony bought them and brought order back to this horrible company. I don't think Sony would save them, but they continue to disappoint with just about everything they release. The Gooch is the GOAT. I have to pick up Fantasia Neo Dimension. I actually have it. I got it for Christmas. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, and I need to play it. But yeah, he's 100% correct. And I think now that these guys are getting older and they really don't have much to lose, that their careers are kind of winding down. I mean, it's a horrible way to to talk about somebody. Your career is winding down. So, but they're speaking up now. They're saying, yeah, the company sucks. It collapsed, and here's why. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later. For more pop culture news, views, and rants, go to news.clownfishtv.com. That's news.clownfishtv.com.